Welcome back to our series of devotions on the Psalms, which I've kind of upended by not going to the Psalms, instead going to Habakkuk, this minor prophet buried deep in the Old Testament. And the parallel I've drawn between Habakkuk's time and our time is this time of crisis, this upending of their society, of everything being shaken by this great empire, Babylon, coming against them, but also this word from God that he would then judge the Babylonians and shake them. And all of this noise, all of this action, this violence, this busyness going on in the first two chapters of Habakkuk comes to a watershed turn in the end of chapter 2, verse 20, where he says, "The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him." Kind of is a weird silence at the moment in New Zealand. We're kind of far from a lot of what's going on, but we're told that we're at war. Our Prime Minister has said we're at war against this common enemy, this virus. Certainly in Europe and in Iran and in New York, there's thousands dying every day. It's like a war. Different, I know, but it's a seismic moment in our history. My grandparents went through the Second World War in England. My grandfather fought in the British Navy, which in the North Atlantic, where he was mostly on his ships, that was statistically the most dangerous place for a British serviceman to be in the World War. And my grandmother would farewell him every time he came home and he went back off to sea, and she would never know whether she would see him again. And she also, my grandma and my auntie would have to take shelter each night in the bunkers underneath Portsmouth as the Nazi Luftwaffe with their blitzkrieg would just bombard the English cities. And every time they went into that bunker, they didn't know what they would come out and find in the morning. They didn't know what would be left standing. There's a great threat at the moment to us from this virus, but probably the greater anxiety, I think, is not knowing what will be left standing at the end of this. You know, these institutions, these structures of our society that we've placed a lot of our headspace and faith in, we don't know if they will stand this. And it gives us a lot of uncertainty. Brings us to Habakkuk chapter 3, where I think Habakkuk puts it all into context. He says, look, these idols that you've trusted in, they're worthless. They're not going to stand. They're like a straw house, a house of cards. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let's read Habakkuk chapter 3. Lord, I've heard of your fame. I stand in awe of your deeds, Lord. Renew them in our day. In our time make them known. In wrath remember mercy. God came from Teman, the Holy One from Mount Paran. His glory covered the heavens, and his praise filled the earth. His splendour was like the sunrise. Rays flashed from his hand where his power was hidden. Plague went before him. Pestilence followed his steps. He stood and shook the earth. He looked and made the nations tremble. The ancient mountains crumbled and the age-old hills collapsed, but he marches on forever. I saw the tents of Cushan in distress, the dwellings of Midian in anguish. Were you angry with the rivers, Lord? Was your wrath against the streams? Did you rage against the sea when you rode your horses and your chariots to victory? You uncovered your bow, you called for many arrows, you split the earth with rivers, the mountains saw you and writhed. Torrents of water swept by, the deep roared and lifted its waves on high. The sun and the moon stood still in the heavens. At the glint of your flying arrows, at the lightning of your flashing spear, in wrath you strode through the earth, and in anger you threshed the nations. You came out to deliver your people, to save your anointed one. You crushed the leader of the land of wickedness. You stripped him from head to foot. With his own spear you pierced his head when his warriors stormed out to scatter us. Gloating as though about to devour the wretched who were in hiding, you trampled the sea with your horses, churning the great waters. I heard and my heart pounded. My lips quivered at the sound. Decay crept into my bones and my legs trembled. Yet I will wait patiently for the day of calamity to come upon the nation invading us. Pause there. There's this massive cosmic picture of what's going on in the story behind the story. This isn't just about Babylon. This isn't just about Judah. This isn't just about the empires of this world. This is about the empire behind all empires. The empire of evil, the empire of death. This rule that opposes God. Where do we find ourselves in this? The righteous will live by their faith. Is our faith in the empires and the institutions of this world, or is our faith in this great God, creator of the world and the author of our lives and our stories? Is our faith in that? Habakkuk ends the psalm with, to me, some of the most beautiful words in all of Scripture. He sees that calamity is coming, and that hasn't changed. God hasn't relented from that. He said it's coming, and it's going to be ugly. Habakkuk doesn't know what's going to be standing left at the end of this, but he places his faith in God in spite of what's coming. He places his faith in his God. Verse 17. Though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God my Saviour. Why? Because the sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to tread on the heights. Deer are some of the most sure-footed animals you'll ever see. Habakkuk, in resting his faith in God, knowing that whatever happens, God is in control, and God will lead his people through this, and there is a future. This blessed assurance that he has gives him peace that whatever comes, he can face it in the strength of a God that is above all, beyond all, and all-powerful. I challenge you to take those anxieties, as natural as they are at this time, to acknowledge them and to bring them before God and say, Lord, all of this is outside my control. All of the things that we might trust in could fall, but Lord, help me to trust in you. Help me to place my faith in you and show me what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus in this time, in this moment, in our place.